pissing off myself by myself. This is a talent. The only thing that I didn't want was a C-section. What did I got? Literally gave it to another mom that I was so prepared, and I have to say that it was a bit traumatic for me because they put me in another bed and they take me out. I was alone. I started to cry. Didn't like that. And we are gonna start the postpartum video. We have a special guest. Charlotte is a special guest de la vidéo. Oh mon God. We're gonna speak about something very serious, mon amour, which is the birthing experience and the postpartum experience. So we had the first part about pregnancy, if you want to look it up. And this is the second part. This is the result of pregnancy postpartum. So, I'm gonna give a bit of warnings, okay? Because my experience of giving birth was not the best, okay? So, I don't want you to freak out. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not gonna bullshit you. So, I'm gonna be very real and very raw. And I'm gonna try to give you the best advice and inputs that I can and that I learned. So let's say that my first birthing experience was not great, and you will know why, but my second was better. Okay, let's start from there. How you prepare for birth. Before preparing for birth itself, you need to prepare your home for after birth, okay? So my advice is cook as much as you can and freeze everything. Like, you want to arrive at home and have so many different meals cooked and prepared for you. You don't want to think about putting yourself into cooking, and you want to have as much things ready as possible. So I prepared myself like so many different type of like sauce and plates and stuff that I froze. So basically for the first week, for the first 10 days, I didn't have to cook ever. So this is very important. I feel like also if you're visiting someone that just gave birth, like bring them some food. Don't take the baby out from them if they don't ask you, but what you can do is offer a hand to like tidy the house or things like this, because that's what you really need as a mom. You're in postpartum, at least to me, I needed to have the food ready, I needed the house to be clean, and I needed the hand sometimes 2 times so I can rest, but that's it. So freeze some food, make sure the house is tidy, make sure you have all the things that you need next to your bed. So all the things like to breastfeed or to feed the baby, make sure you have everything nearby the bed. And also put your phone down and disconnect. Like, you have to really think that the first months you need to take care of yourself. So I would advise you to really read like this book, Le Mois d'Or. I will link it in the bio. Everything about first months post-birth and how to step into this new role, this new life, and recover mentally and physically. Don't plan to have people coming all the time. You will not want to have people coming all the time. I mean, personally, like, I really wanted to be in my own little bubble, peace and quiet. Like, if I want you to come, I will tell you, but I'm so grateful that I didn't plan to have like so many people passing by and everything, because it can feel exhausting. You already taking care of a newborn, you don't want to have to take care of other people. So if someone is visiting you, it needs to be someone that is gonna help you and not gonna make you feel that you need to do something more, you know? You don't want to have someone that is coming into your house and expecting to have a tea, expecting for you to be nicely dressed, expecting for you to want to give your baby out and as if it's a little ball that needs to be turned around. Like, no, you don't want that. So take your time, just focus on eating good food, drinking lots of soup with collagen. So do some brodo of chicken, of meat, nourishing food, get some supplements. That's it. And buy your diapers. You will need diapers for a C-section and for a natural birth. It's fine. Okay? This is gonna be your new you for a month. You have some diapers. You put the diapers on your baby and you wear some diapers. You know? It's okay. It's cute. You're matching for the first time. Okay? This is how you prepare for birth. So let's start with the giving birth experience. So when I got pregnant, I don't think I was a good student, but I never been a good student. Like, I never been those kind of girls that love to go. I don't like to be super prepared, no? That's why Mama, she loves freestyle, okay? I'm more like a freestyler kind of person. I love improvisation. My gynecologist, at some point, I asked her, like, should I should I take the classes for giving birth? And she literally told me no. You don't need it, it's useless. Anyway, once you're gonna be there, and you will have to do what you gotta do. I would say that it's better if you learn how to breathe. So I would recommend to learn how to breathe for your birthing experience. I think it's way better. Anyway, that's my personal opinion. So what happened to me the first time? I need to give you a bit of context. So my nightmare was to have a C-section, okay? I said, I want everything but a C-section. And at some point at the end of pregnancy, it looked like Romeo was huge. You know, they do like some tests, they look at like the length of the legs. And from that, they do an approximation of the weight of the baby. And it appeared that Romeo was already 3.5 kilos, no? And I was far from my due date. So she told me, listen, it's gonna be huge. So we better make you give birth 1 week earlier than your due date. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's gonna be too big, you're too small, you're never gonna be able to having him naturally, no? Okay, so we plan a date. I go to the hospital and they do what we called an induction. So we went for an induction. What was the induction was that they put some kind of liquid balls down there to kind of open up, no? Didn't like that. It was painful and it didn't work. So long story short, the induction didn't work. I got blocked at like 4 centimeters dilated. I had contractions and stuff like that for 24 hours non-stop. I don't want to freak you out so much, but basically what I went through was, so they give me these little balls full of water that they put there to open me, and I stayed the whole night with that. I arrived in the hospital, it was the 4th of November, and I stayed the whole night with that. It's quite painful. I got open till 3 centimeters. Then after that, we started to give me the oxytocin. Didn't work, so they manually detached the membrane 2 times, okay, to try to make the process go on. Didn't work. They broke my water. Didn't work, and this lasted 25 hours. Let me tell you that I was destroyed after those 25 hours because I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I was through a lot of pain. The only thing that I can say that is gonna be quite positive if you have endometriose is that when you are used to endometriose pain, the contraction feels very smooth. Like when I had the contraction, honestly, I didn't felt so much pain. It did at some point, they were telling me, do you want the epidural now? And I was like, I don't really need it at the moment. And I know that epidural could slow down the process. So I was like, for now, I'm good. Like, let's just keep on going. And honestly, it was bearable. But this was my experience. Birthing experience is such a personal thing, okay? You have some people that want to have, like my best friend, she went all natural. No help, no medicine, no nothing. She literally took out the babies out of her vagina, like nothing would happen. Me, I was the opposite. Like I literally said, like, give me anything and everything you want so I suffer as less as possible. So it depends on you. Also in that, like, I feel like there's no judgment to have. Like, I feel like there's so many stupid preconception on like, oh my God, like if you give birth like this, like you're superior. Like, no girl. No one is superior to anyone. What's matter in giving birth is that you deliver a baby that is healthy and you're healthy. That's it. Me, I don't put any judgment on anyone and their choice of like birth story. I feel everything is super personal. It's like breastfeeding or not. Yes, breastfeeding is good for the baby, but you have some mothers that are not able to breastfeed, that the baby is not latching, that you have so many different things. Like what's important is that the mother is okay and the baby is okay. Punto. This is like the base on everything that I'm gonna say. I don't like when people are like, oh my God, you don't breastfeed. Like, no, everyone is different. We are not in other people's shoes. The mom knows what's better for her and her baby always. So that's a fact, okay? Anyway, so me, I was not at all against medicine. I was like, for sure, I'm gonna do epidural. Like, there is no question. Like, obviously, anesthesia, I don't want to suffer like crazy. So if I can make it smoother for myself, I will do. So funny how this thing got me pissed and now I'm having a cigarette. Speaking about people judging other mother got me like upset. I'm pissing off myself by myself. This is a talent. So the only thing that I didn't want was a C-section. What did I got? A C-section! Obviously. So one of the things that I learned is that you make some plans for your birth, but you never know what's going to happen till you're there. So you need to be ready for everything. When I tell you that I had every kit possible for giving birth naturally, like I made les protections with pack of ice, I had the cream for the hemorrhoids, I bought the pillow for the hemorrhoids for the car on the way back, I had all the cream if I had like to be cut down there. There is like a Frida Mum pack that is really good that I would recommend. I would put you the link. That is amazing. I had everything. Like when I gave birth after, I literally gave it to another mom that her was not prepared at all, and she was so happy because I was like, girl, I got you. I didn't have to use it because I have another kind of scar, but this is for you. I was so prepared for everything but C-section. I didn't even look at what I should do in case of a C-section because I was like, I said this is everything but that, it's not gonna happen that. It happened that. So what happened is that after 25 hours of labor, the heart of Romeo started to drop, obviously, and so it was time to cut me up. And I have to say that it was a bit traumatic for me because basically from a second to another, some people came, they take off my clothes, they put me in another bed and they take me out, and Ricardo could not come. I was alone. I was super scared. Obviously, I started to cry because I was like, this is like, I was scared. I got a C-section. When it happened, I fainted, like I lost conscious. I just remember that I heard Romeo crying. I saw him passing. I kissed him, I took him out and I fainted the second he left the room. Then I think they stitched me up and blah, blah, blah. I was out and I wake up in a room by myself. I think Ricardo told me it was like an hour after that they took me into the room. So Ricardo had Romeo, and I have to say that I was so pissed because the only thing I was looking forward for my birthing experience was like the golden hour, like the second that you have your baby and you can keep it to your skin to skin and feel him, and it was so important for me, and the fact that it was taken away from me was super hard for me to deal with. So I didn't have that. The second thing that I wanted to see so much was seeing the face of Romeo when you would see his son for the first time, and I didn't have that neither. I literally wake up in a room by myself and I started to scream like, where is my baby? Where is my husband? Like, where am I? They got me into the room. There were Ricardo and other couples in salle d'éveil. And then I saw Ricardo with Romeo, holding Romeo. It was incredible. And the second I got Romeo, what has been magical is that I put him on my breast and I breastfed him and he latched. At the end, what can I say? It's not that it doesn't matter the way you're giving birth. Like, I wish I had like a positive birth experience, which is not the case, at least for the first time. But the second that you have your baby and he's healthy and you're healthy, nothing else matter. Like, you're just happy, everyone is fine, and you forget everything because you have your baby in your hands, and that's all that matters. So that was my birthing experience. The second time with Charlotte, I had the planned C-section. Also, this, it depends on each doctors and hospital and blah blah blah. Some hospital, when you had the first C-section, they don't allow you at all to try to give birth naturally. To me, they told me, you can try if you want, but you have the risk to do another emergency C-section. And you also have the risk that your uterus ripped out. If the scar is not good from the first one, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, no, we're not gonna try this thing again. And I have to say that because my first experience was traumatic to me, I arrived in the hospital to give birth to Charlotte and I really felt like I was dying. I was scared to die. Like, I was really scared to die. I remember when they did me the anesthesia in the back, I cried. And the doctor was like, but why are you crying? Like, what are you scared of? And I was like, I'm scared of dying. And they were like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. But the C-section itself was so much smoother because My surgeon put some music. The whole time he put Stevie Wonder. She was born on Isn't She Lovely? I had Ricardo with me. I was conscious the whole time, like I was there in the room. They gave me Charlotte. I had her on me the whole time that they were stitching me back up. So I had this moment with her that I could have her. I saw Ricardo, seeing her for the first time, like everything that I wanted, I had it the second time around. So I was really grateful for that, and I have to say that it has made such a difference, obviously. But still, what I want to say about that is that, you know, there's no regret to have, like, as long as you have like a healthy baby and you're healthy, it's okay. It doesn't matter after the rest. So talking about that, I will give you the kit of Frida if you are hoping for like a natural birth experience. But I feel like in this case, you need to also have a doula or like some kind of people that are accompanying you through the process. For the C-section, what you need is basically not a lot. I mean, what I used, there are some bandage of silicone that can be good for helping the skin and the scar to recover. I bought them the second time around. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. You know what happened? I realized, you know, you have to put like the compression tight when you're having a C-section. After the C-section, I looked at my legs. I had scars. You know from what? From the silicone. I find that I'm allergic to silicone. So thankfully, it happened with the tight and I didn't put it on my scar, because otherwise I would have had a crazy reaction on this part of the body. So also that like these things, you need to try it out on you before and not on the scar, and you need to speak to your doctor first and foremost, because we can give you all the advices we want. Everybody is different and you need to make sure it's gonna be okay for you. Have a look at that. I also find out that I'm allergic to like the kind of glue that they put on the band-aids on the scar. This I find out the first time. The second time they didn't do it because they did like internal stitch. Also this, like, you know, when you give birth, some people say that you can use like the things to wrap your body. I never used it because for my C-section, my doctor advised me not to do it, not to put strong pressure on it. So what I would use was like a panty, high-waisted, that I bought on Amazon, that was supporting, but it was not compressing. So it helps you to feel that everything is not gonna fall out from your scar, but it's not compressing, so you still need to use your abs. Basically what my doctor told me is that if you put something that is too compressing, you're not gonna reactivate slowly your abs, because you will not need, thanks to the belt, and it's not good. Like, it's better to slowly start to use your body. Obviously con calma. When I say use your abs, I mean just like standing, you're using your abs now. But when you have a C-section, just standing, you feel that there's something wrong. I feel like the recovery from a C-section is very different than from a natural birth. When it comes to recovery, I'm only gonna speak about the C-section recovery because that's what I know. The C-section recovery is a bit longer and harder, I would say, because you have been cut open on 9 layers. So you really need to take it easy. Like, you cannot carry heavy things. It's very hard because you need to carry your baby, you want to carry some stuff, but you cannot do it. So you really need to keep this in mind and have everything accessible. The pillow that you bought to sleep when you were pregnant, you're gonna use it to help you out while you breastfeed, to be comfortable. Especially the first week, the scar can be a bit painful when you move, so you want to have like this kind of support in your bed and in your zone when you breastfeed. I find that when I was giving birth from Romeo, I had like a whole setup for like breastfeeding, and I bought like a poltrona, huge. With Charlotte, I was doing it in bed and it was way better. So you don't need to have any fancy like space. The only thing you need is like a little veilleuse if you breastfeed or feed your baby during the night, so you don't have to turn the big light, and a comfortable pillows and area so you can feel supported. That's it. And a little table in which you can put like all the stuff. Like, you put a bottle of water because you will need to drink a lot of water. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to produce milk. But anyway, even if you don't breastfeed, you need to hydrate. So have your bottle of water, your tea or whatever. Vitamins, snacks, essential for the babies, like diapers, wiping. I think that if I have to be really honest for postpartum, like I'm not a good example on a positive postpartum, because postpartum for me has always been really difficult. The two times around, I had a very bad postpartum depression. So basically, I every time I left the hospital, I started to cry so much. So at the beginning, just like, water coming out of my eyes. And I feel like for the first 6 months, I really had like some depression symptoms. So I was really overwhelmed and sad and all of the things now. So what would be my advice for postpartum is like, make sure you have help if you can. Me, when I was in Paris, I literally said to my dad, like, please dad, like you have to come and visit me and help me with Romeo, because I need to be breastfeeding Charlotte and take care of her. So my dad would come and he would take Romeo like to go to the park or something like this, so I could take care of Charlotte, or would have like an hour of resting. When they say it takes a village, it does take a village. And I've been super lucky because Ricardo was there. He started working like very fast after giving birth because he's self-employed, so it's like that when you're self-employed. But I was lucky enough to have my dad with me, so he helped me out a bit. I know it doesn't feel fair for the ones who doesn't have help, but I swear to God, I don't know what advice I can give, because I feel like, especially to me and my vision of postpartum, like postpartum for me is only about like basically surviving. Like you just have to survive this moment. So it's like so intense, because you go from you basically becoming a mom, maybe for the first time, maybe for the second time. The experience is different when it's for the first time or the second time. Your hormones are all over the place. You don't sleep much, obviously. Your body is recovering, so it's a lot. And you're learning new things, like you're learning how to take care of a baby, how to keep it alive, how to feed it, how to change diapers, how to like everything, no? So it's a mix, because it's a moment filled with like beauty and love. Like you feel a love that you never felt in your life. Like I remember just looking at them and getting lost in their eyes for like 3 hours, and the time is completely different. Like the time doesn't feel real, like nothing else matters. You have the smell of the milk and like the softness of the skin, like so much magic and so much love. And in the meanwhile, it's so much desperation. Ma in che senso non fai la nana tu? It's like a mix of magic, and in the meanwhile, it's kind of also desperation also, because I was overwhelmed by the hormones. I was feeling sore in my body from the recovery of the C-section. I was obviously lacking of sleep, which is quite common, but it can really get into your nerves. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror, because, I feel like when you give birth, you kind of imagine that you're gonna give birth and you're gonna be like before, but no, you're a mother in postpartum, and your body is a body in postpartum, which can be really hard to take in. And that's why I was telling you, like, all the cute clothes you use during pregnancy, you need to use them in postpartum, so you can, when you'll be ready after weeks and weeks and weeks, you can start to feel cute again, even though you're not back in your body. So another thing that is important is like there's no bouncing back, at least for me. Like it takes months and months and months. Like with Romeo, I think I started to slightly look like myself after 7 months. You need to take it day by day, and anyway, to be honest, you're gonna be so busy and so like full of love with your baby that this is gonna really go in the back of your head. It's not gonna become so important. I remember an advice that I had from a friend when I gave birth for the first time was like, you need to put in your agenda that 1 month after giving birth, you're planning on going to the hairdresser and you're planning a date with your husband. And to me, when she said that, I was like, well, obviously after 1 month, I would have done that. When I was 1 week to 1 month, I was like, oh my God, but how I'm supposed to do all of that? I don't even know when to take my shower during the day. Like I don't think I really went out of home because I was, between the milk and the changing diapers and everything, I was completely in the loop of that. And I organized myself with our parents to be with Romeo for 1 hour, and we went to have like a little glass of wine together. And I have to say that it was such a nice little treat. Also because you need this kind of connection with your husband, because the first weeks and the first months are really hard. Indeed, they always say like don't separate the first year after having a baby, because you're a bit all over the place. So you can have some fight, or you can, sometimes I would look at Ricardo and I was like, you're fucking useless. Like, you're fucking useless, because when you're the mom, obviously, especially if you breastfeed, you know, obviously you can change the diapers and everything, but he didn't have my boobs, you know? So you also, like, I remember having like kind of envy and also like rage towards him, because at some point he was going back to work and he was going back to his life, and I was stuck with a postpartum body, with a postpartum depression, with my hair that was falling out of my fucking head, a baby that was crying, some diapers to change, and no time to take my shower during the day. And I was so jealous and pissed at him for that, even though obviously it was not his fault and everything. But you have this little like, oh my god, I wish it was me, like I wish I could, me too, like go back to life. And this is something that I felt very strongly. I feel like, you know, coming from, I'm such a person that is toward like being productive and like making stuff and doing stuff, and this forced moment of like kind of pause was really hard for me. I feel like, obviously, for example, my best friend, she had the best postpartum, because I feel like she was able to enjoy it as I enjoy my pregnancy. Like she knew that it was a pause in her life, and she really embraced it and enjoy it and accept it, and therefore she was able to take the best out of it. For me, I never have been able to accept that. Like my second postpartum with Charlotte, like my goal was always to go back to my life as soon as I can, and obviously it's not possible, and I think it's like the silliest goal ever, but that's the only thing I could take, you know, like. And when I mean going back to my life, I don't mean like to leave out the baby behind, obviously not, but to feel like myself again. I feel like it's very hard to explain, but when you gave birth and you are in postpartum, at some point you lose yourself a bit. It's like going into such a strong transition that you longing for the moment that you're gonna be, oh my god, like this is it, like this is me, but with my babies. Like at some point you hit this moment that is amazing, because it means that you kind of got your routine and that you kind of like settling into this new life. Always, obviously, I wanted to be back and feeling amazing the day after, but at least to me it was never possible. Like it always took me like at least 6 months before I could even function properly, you know? Once again, this is very personal, but I would say, learning from my mistake, that my advice for postpartum is really to acknowledge the fact that this is a pause on some stuff. Like you're not gonna be your most productive self. You're gonna grow a human being, and this should be enough. As I was saying, like it's such a mix of beautiful emotion, and it's a mix of like, at least for me, it was a mix of magic and desperation. And then there are firsts for everything. Like you're learning so many new things. Like you're seeing the first of your baby every single day, which is magical. You're reliving first with your baby every single day. I feel like the key word for postpartum would be to be patient with yourself, with your partner or husband. Patience is what you need, and the particular moment. And also I feel like it's so beautiful when you are able to enjoy it, because the craziest thing is that the second that you come out of the postpartum bubble, you're gonna miss it. Like you're gonna miss this time out of time and space, in which the only thing that you care and smell is like the smell of your baby and the milk, you know? Please try to enjoy it and embrace it as much as you can. Your husband and make him, or partner, and make him aware that he needs to do stuff. Like I was so grateful for Ricardo, because he was so hands-on. Like the guy knew what he was doing. He learned how to change the diapers. If Romeo was crying, he was there, like he really took on his role as a father, and I helped him also doing that, because I feel like the dads, it's a bit more complicated, because us women, we feel like a mother a bit earlier on because we carry the baby. For them, like I saw Ricardo when I gave birth, it was for him, it was day one, you know. For me, it was already day 100. Also, with the fact that I was breastfeeding, I was obviously in a relationship with my Romeo or Charlotte the same. That was really intense because they were always on me. It's very easy for the father to feel excluded from that because they feel that they're useless, and so that's why it's important to let them make mistakes, okay? Like if you give your baby to the dad and you change the diapers in another ways that yours, you tell him, oh my god, it's so wrong how you do it, blah blah blah, you're gonna make them feel even worse, you know? So obviously they're adults and they should deal with their stuff, but I feel like for an harmonious start for all the family, it's important to acknowledge also that there is a dad that is also learning to be a dad. I swear sometimes you want to kill them, but we have to give them grace because they also are learning. They need to learn how to do their things and their mistakes, and their role is super important for you and for the baby. I remember that Ricardo at some point was like, hey girl, like now we need to have time also, you and me. And when I studied psychology, I remember they were speaking about postpartum, and they were saying how important is the dad, because the mom is such in a like healthy craziness and obsessivity with the baby. Dad here has a third part role that is to help the mom to go back to herself, no, and go back to her normal life and encourage them. Like I remember with Ricardo at the beginning was like, okay, but you know, he didn't know when to take on. I guide him a bit naturally into that, and he became such an amazing dad because I also gave him the space to be, was being okay, now it's you and the baby, you know, giving him this space allow him to grow his role as a dad and his relationship with Romeo. Especially when I speak about that, it's especially the first weeks, because it's very difficult when you're breastfeeding. The relationship obviously with the mom is like most everything, so it's important to give them a bit of space for them too, so they can also have time with their baby. But I would say that honestly the role of the dad at the beginning is being a support system for the mother. Like Ricardo has been such a strong support system for me, especially, you know, dealing with postpartum depression. Like sometimes I felt like I was going completely crazy. I'm grateful he was there to help me out and to hug me and make me breathe and like listen to me when I needed to, because was intense. So this is also gonna be another thing, like these little months of like sadness and crying and like emotivity, because it doesn't have to be sadness, it can be like only emotivity, is normal. If you go over a month and you start to feel like a strong sadness and desperation and everything, please consult someone. Postpartum depression is no joke. You can really have some crazy dark thoughts and you need to have support. Like you need to be able to speak about it, so please do it. Don't feel ashamed about it. Like it's okay. It happens to so many more women that we think. It shouldn't be taboo, so don't be afraid if it's happening to you. If I came through it, you're gonna go through it. There's no shame to have. You just need to have like the help you deserve to have, okay? So speak about it. That's very important. So it's so funny because they always say like, oh, you need to take care of yourself, no. And there is always this advice that is true, that they say sleep when the baby is sleeping. And I feel like during postpartum, you lose yourself into time. So there is no day and night. Like day is when your baby is wake up and night is when your baby is sleeping. Also with that, like try to have grace for yourself and just go with the flow. Like try to go with the flow. When your baby is sleeping, try to sleep or take a shower or have a meal. Do something that is making you feel better. It's gonna be that for a few weeks and you're gonna slowly get your rhythm and things are gonna get better. So I would say just don't put too much pressure on you, and then obviously do your checkups, and that's it. If you have any other questions, please send them to me and I will reply to you. You got it. You got this. And also the best is yet to come. Okay? the best is yet to come.